stick to law and drop it. Welcome to the Young Turks, Anarchist Parent Jay Huger, Jimmy Dore, everybody. I did Jimmy's show on Monday of this week.
The live show.
Yeah, the live show in Burbank. I said it in a post game. I'm gonna say it again right here. First of all, that place was bananas. Okay, and I'll tell you why it was bananas, because of Jimmy Dore. Like, why is it sold out on a Monday night with a fervent, crazed audience?
Monday's the new Friday, duh.
It is if Jimmy Dore's in the house, okay? And just the passion of the fans was just awesome to see, Jimmy. And it was a great show, really funny. And by the way, I'd like to take this moment to say some of the things that they said during that show, I denounce and reject. Okay, okay, now we're moving forward. I said what I said. What they said is what they said.
What we said is our own. Everybody stands by their own words.
That's right. Okay. All right. I got a fun and important announcement for you guys, and then I'm going to have another one on Monday. So I need you guys to go nuts on Monday. But let's do the first one right now. An important and dramatic announcement at TYT Network history.
Dramatic
announcement, everybody. On Monday, we are starting a new show called Rebel Headquarters. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so we're having fun. Okay, what is it for? It's going to be a progressive hub. Okay, so what I want people to do is to come and watch where we are going to gather progressives. So we're going to talk to people who are already in office who are progressives, but actual progressives, okay? Non-progressives are barred, okay? Like, so it's because sometimes people say, oh, you know, in the network you should talk to right-wingers. That's true, we do on TYT interviews all the time. Are we gonna do that on Rebel Headquarters? No, it's for rebels. It's not for the empire, okay? So no interest there. We're gonna talk to candidates. We're gonna talk to groups like Our Revolution and many others that are great, wonderful progressive groups. And I wanna show you guys what they're up to. I feel like there's no place on the internet right now where you can go, okay, is there a protest? Is there a movement? Is there a rally? Is there a gathering? What are we doing? Well, come to Rebel Headquarters, you're gonna find out. So, you know the main Young Turks show, of course, is live 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern every day. And you can get that at tytnetwork.com/live, where you can get all of our shows, okay? Now, this is gonna be right after the main show. So at 8:05 p.m. Eastern to 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So a nice half-an-hour show. Yes, you can do the math, it's 25 minutes, take a 3-minute break in between. Yes, fine, it's 22 minutes, but it's gonna be awesome. Okay, we're gonna have these guests on, and then I want you to actually start sending emails to us, and don't get impatient with us if we can't like get to your stuff right away. But I want you to tell us about local candidates that maybe we haven't heard of and that you think are wonderful, or organizing things that you're doing at the state level, the local level, or the national level. So rebelhq@tytnetwork.com is where you're gonna email us, and our producers will look through that, and to the best of our abilities, we're going to try to get the message out. So there's a limited bandwidth, of course, so we don't have very many guests on TYT, almost not at all during the main Young Turks live show during the 2 hours. Here's where we're gonna have the guests and the progressives that are on. And from time to time you guys say, oh well, for example, Justice Democrats only works at the national level. That's right, that's a different group, and yes, they only do national candidates. This is for all progressives. So if you got a local candidate that you're a Bernie supporter or a wonderful progressive, come on in. Let's try to get all those people the attention that they deserve to the best of our abilities. By the way, I happen to be today doing a power panel on the live show with the 2 other people who will host Rebel Headquarters from time to time. I'll be the main host, but Anna is gonna fill in for me. So is Jimmy Dore, everybody. Jimmy, I don't know, are you rebel enough for Rebel Headquarters?
I don't know, we'll find out. We're gonna find out.
One of the aggressive progressives right here.
You know, I don't mind interviewing people who are progressives, whatever, as long as they don't say anything that hurts the party and the general.
Oh no, we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
No.
This will be an aggressive show, and I think you're going to be unsurprised by that. But I think you're going to love it. So check it out actually Monday through Thursday at 8:05 p.m. Eastern, right after the main show, tytnetwork.com/live. And by the way, some of the interviews and clips will be put up on youtube.com/tytpolitics. Okay. Thank you, guys. All right, now, what's the news of the day, Anna?
All right, let's start off with Roy Moore. For months now, Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore has gotten a lot of attention due to molestation allegations geared toward him or against him. And that's understandable, but apparently during a September rally, he said some things worth of criticism that haven't really gotten much attention until now. The Los Angeles Times reported about Roy's statements in regard to slavery in America and how he doesn't necessarily think that that was the worst time in the United States. Now, just to set the stage for you a little bit, according to the reporting, at Moore's Florence rally, the former judge outlined all the wrongs he sees in Washington and spiritual wickedness in high places. He warned of the awful calamity of abortion and sodomy and perverse behavior and murders and shootings and road rage as a punishment inflicted upon us for our presumptuous sins. Now that's how he started it. Then a woman in the crowd, she's been described as the only black woman in the crowd, asked Roy Moore, when did you think America was great? When was the last time you thought America was great? And then he gave this answer.
Trump, what does he or me make it great again?
I think we've been striving for that greatness all the way through. I think you're right about that. And I think it was great in the minds of those who formed the Declaration, although they were not perfect people, they had problems. I think it was great at the time when families were united. Even though we had slavery, they cared for one another. People were strong in the families, our families were strong. Our country had a direction, and we corrected many of the problems. Today I see our families divided. Greatness I see was in our culture. Not in all our policies, there were problems. We had slavery, we've overcome slavery. We've had prejudice, we still have prejudice, but we've turned the tide on civil rights, and we've done a lot of things to bring this country around. And I think we can still make it better.
So his argument is, yeah, I mean, there might have been some racial issues with the whole slavery thing, but at least families were strong, as if he was living in that time period and knew the dynamics of families and how strong they were. And by the way, really, that was one of the great times in America where people were being lynched and sold off as property. By the way, what does he think about our president, who has been married a couple times and has children from several women? Like, are those the strong kinds of families that you are in favor of? Like, it's funny how they're unwilling to ever self-reflect, because if you genuinely believe in strong families, then you wouldn't be so supportive of Trump and his lifestyle.
So what a bizarre answer, because I thought that when I saw the headline that it was going to be in reaction to someone who had brought up slavery. No, he brought it up unprompted.
Yeah.
The first thing he brought up is, when was America great? During the Revolutionary War. No, America was in such bad shape, they declared a revolution. like they started a whole war because it was that bad, right? So that doesn't make any sense. But then you move to the worst answer, slavery. Okay, think about his perspective. Families were in great shape. Of course, as Anna points out, how would he know? Second of all, I assume he means from the white perspective, because I want to go to some graphics here and show you what historians said about those times. 32A, 32B, and 34 here, okay? So first, let me read you. Historian Michael Tadman has estimated that approximately 1/3 of enslaved children in the upper South states of Maryland and Virginia experienced family separation in one of three possible scenarios: sale away from parents, sale with mother away from father, or sale of mother or father away from the child. The fear of separation haunted adults who knew how likely it was to happen. Young children, innocently unaware of the possibilities, learned quickly of the pain that such separations could cause.
What a great time in America. Families were strong. The country had a direction.
I'm pretty sure that African American families were not in as good a shape as Roy Moore pretends to remember them, because he never even considered them. He only considered the white families. I mean, if you considered black families for 1 second during slavery, would you have made that comment? Like, you would have been like, oh wait, oh yeah, I shouldn't wait. I think even Roy Moore would be like, oh, I shouldn't say that, because he doesn't care. He never thought about it from that perspective.
No, but you know what he's doing. You know, the fact that he immediately went to slavery was not an accident. I think it was a strategy. Think about it. We're in Alabama, right? He is speaking to Alabamans that he is hoping will vote for him. And what is something that, you know, they've been really fired up with recently? It's all of these protests among NFL players who refuse to stand during the national anthem. All of this talk about the Confederate flag and what happened during the Revolution. I mean, that was on purpose. By the way, this is my speculation, but I don't think that was an accident.
Well, it doesn't speak well of him either way, and that was back in September, just when the football season was starting and all those controversies were happening. So I'm going to read you one last thing because I think it's important, and I want you to get a sense of what happened at the time. Because I hear conservatives asking about black culture, as they call it. Where are the fathers? Well, sometimes the fathers were sold off back in the day, and so that would be one answer. And if you think like, yeah, but Cenk, that was a long time ago. Things reverberate through culture and through history, man. And so you ripped families apart nonstop. And look, guys, when I say you, I don't mean you did it. We weren't here. You weren't here, right? But that's what happened in America. And to turn a blind eye to it is to not understand the history of this country. And it doesn't mean we can't get better. We have been getting better. But for someone to say in the year 2017 that slavery is when we had good, strong families. Well, let me read you this post that was put up back in the day during slavery. It says, information wanted of my son Jetson, who was sold about 16 years ago by a Mr. Dolehite of Oxford, Mississippi to a Mr. Thomas Ford of the same place. I've not heard from him since. Information may be sent to his mother, Susan Huddleston. So looking for their child for 16 years. Let me read another one for you. And these are tough, man, but this is what happened. Information wanted of my son, Alan Jones. He left me before the war in Mississippi. He wrote me a letter in 1853 in which the letter he said that he was in Charleston, South Carolina. Oh, that he said that he was sold to the highest bidder, a gentleman in Charleston, South Carolina. Nancy Jones, his mother, would like to know the whereabouts of the above named person. Any information may be sent to Reverend J.W. Turner, pastor of AMR Church, Ottawa, Kansas. So you rip these families apart, and then you have the audacity to turn around and say, oh, we had strong families during slavery. There are no bounds of decency with a guy like Roy Moore.
By the way, at the same campaign event, he also referred to Native Americans and Asian Americans as reds and yellows. So you kind of get a sense of where he stands on racial issues.
I would disagree with Roy Moore. I think he could go more recent. I think the time when you see parents and kids and grandparents coming together in a cohesive, I have to say the best time for that was during the Holocaust. So, or maybe I got to go back to the Dark Ages. Maybe that. Remember when families really came together when they're during the Crusades? Anyway, I don't know. It's like, why would you? Because it's this idea that when blacks knew their place, that's when we had a nice society. Remember when blacks knew their place? Because that's what he's hearkening back to, the good old days. Remember Jim Crow? Remember that? He goes all the way back to slavery, but that's what that is. Let's go back to the good old days. I'm a good old boy, good old days. None of this PC culture and none of this civil rights stuff, and that's what this is. Now the blacks are uppity, they say whatever they want to you. I mean, I'm telling you, that's all this is. This is that same stuff.
Look, there's no end to his prejudice. Earlier this week, he talked about George Soros. Now that's normal. They talk about him all the time. I get it. We talk about the Koch brothers. They talk about Soros. But then he went on to say he has a radical agenda. I was like, okay, I know you think he has a radical agenda, so I'm still not fazed. And he said his agenda is sexual. What? What are you talking about? And then he went on to do these anti-Semitic stereotypes and tropes about how George Soros wants to secretly control our politicians for his financial and sexual agenda. If he's not trying to offend people, he's doing a really poor job at it and really doesn't understand how to get mission accomplished. If he is trying to offend people for the reasons that Anna and Jimmy are pointing out here, where he thinks, well, Alabama voters are racist, anti-Semitic, etc., well, then mission accomplished. You're doing a wonderful job. So you look, he's done some terrible things sexually that we've talked about plenty of times on this show. But even if you put all that aside, and a lot of the Republicans in Alabama say, I don't care. 1/3 of them say, even if it's true, I don't care that he molested a 14-year-old and tried to rape a 16-year-old. Okay, that's fine. You don't care. That's fascinating. It's not fine. You're a terrible person. On top of that, I guess I'm not surprised that they say that I also don't care that he's deeply racist and all the other issues that we brought up here.
Well, what's interesting is what I see with Roy Moore is very similar, like a similar trend that we noticed with Trump, where he acts terribly, okay, behaves terribly, and you think, oh, this is it, it's the end for him. And then it seems like it only helps him, which is amazing. Now you have the RNC, doing a full-throated endorsement of Roy Moore, and that's unbelievable to me. At first they're like, oh no, we reject this is terrible, we condemn it. But then they're like, oh yeah, you know what? Better than electing a Democrat. So let's go ahead and support him. And by the way, one thing that amazes me is the fact that Republicans in Congress right now are saying, we need Roy Moore to ensure that we can pass our tax plan. Okay, but the tax plan is insanely unpopular. It's polling around 30% right now with the American electorate. So you are willing to elect a child molester to pass your incredibly unpopular tax plan just to appease your donors. That's the America that we're living in right now. It's amazing.
Yep.
So real quick, what I would just like to get your opinion on. Bruce Bartlett has been tweeting pretty hard about this, and Bruce Bartlett from the Bush administration. He's a Republican, but I think he's an honest actor. And he's saying that this is the Democrats shooting themselves in the foot and standing on, and because he says the voters don't care. And he said that's what he says, voters don't give a crap. And we're doing this to ourselves, or I'm not doing it, but the Democrats are doing this to themselves.
Wait, doing what to themselves?
Al Franken, stuff like that's what he's referring. Like,
so
because
the
Republicans are fully endorsing Roy Moore. They're going to keep winning and keep getting, and then the Democrats are eating their own, is how he put it. So,
So yeah, John and I talked about this on the show the other day. The problem is that both Democratic, there's two different problems in my opinion. One is that Democratic politicians think that if they drum Al Franken out of town and John Conyers, et cetera, then they'll win the Alabama seat. As a matter of political calculation, that's not remotely true. That those two things are not at all connected. You are just throwing your own guys on the bus. But there's a huge but, which is they deserve to be under a bus. At least Conyers certainly. And Conyers is a legend, but it certainly appears that he did those things that he's got to go, right? Now Franken, I think, is a far more difficult case. I'm not sure that I believe him when he says that he doesn't remember those things the same way as some of those accusers. On the other hand, we know Roger Stone was in on the first plot against Al Franken, which makes me wary of all of this, right? So to me, yes, there's the weak Democratic leadership. But the other part of it that we discussed on the show the other day, Jimmy, is that Democratic voters are more moral than Republican voters.
They are.
Because I don't want to reelect Anthony Weiner or John Conyers, knowing what I know about them now. I wouldn't vote for them, and I don't need to. I could find a progressive candidate in those races who hasn't sent tweets to underage girls or sexually harassed people that work for him. But Republicans, not only do they not mind, because they don't really care about Moore. I mean, look, they like Roy Moore because of the hate that he has. That's not a bug, that's the feature.
Yes.
Right? So when their lack of morality leads them, even in, I don't know.
Aren't we supposed to be the immoral ones?
Yeah.
Aren't we supposed to be the terrible immoral ones?
They're the family values, they're the Christians.
Yeah, they're the family values who care about, the right to life and all that, supposedly. But, when it comes to right to life, it's only about, zygotes, but it's never about protecting living, breathing human beings. And look, in the past, and recently on this show, there's been some pretty harsh criticism toward, women who consistently support these types of candidates. And that criticism stems from the fact that I just don't understand how you can continuously vote for people who don't respect you, that think that you're just collateral damage, in their political schemes and their political agenda. They don't see you as humans. Like, that's the thing that drives me crazy about all of this.
So look, I don't accept anything the Republicans say. In fact, I think it's just the exact opposite. So they call themselves the moral majority back when I was growing up, 80s, 90s. No, they're actually the immoral minority.
Yes.
So they don't believe in family values at all. When you have child predators, they think it's fantastic. Desjardins had 3 abortions from his wife and his mistress. Okay, he's a current sitting congressman in Tennessee, got reelected, no problem. They don't actually care about family values or morality. It's actually the exact opposite. Those white evangelical voters that are staying with Roy Moore and Donald Trump. And by the way, some have left, to be fair. And I said some Kansas moms would say, this is a bridge too far. Maybe I want lower taxes because I got tricked into thinking that was for me, whatever. But I'm not for this, right? And that has happened. He's lost 17% of support among white evangelicals. Donald Trump has, okay? But for those that remain, the lack of morality is not the bug, it's the feature. Why do they like Roy Moore and Donald Trump? The #1 reason is they hate the same people that they hate. So those voters don't like Latinos, they don't like blacks, they don't like gays. They've been taught not to like gays and blacks, etc. And then, so when they see a guy like Roy Moore filled with hate, they go, that's my guy. So you keep telling me to your original question about strategy, Jimmy, Democrats keep thinking if we show them that they're full of hate, that they'll vote against them. No, if you show them that they're full of hate or they're bad guys, they'll vote for them. And that's why so many got energized to show up for Donald Trump. They're like, finally, someone as honestly hateful as I am.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. That's why his poll numbers would go up every time he said something negative about any minority group.
So here's what I don't get about Al Franken. So Garrison Keillor writes this article in the Washington Post, says it's absurd what's happening to him. He has to resign. He says we're in the middle of a mania, and he says, I wish somebody would stand up to this. And I'm like, well, how about you? You're 75 years old, you're retired, you got nothing but time on your hands and millions of dollars. Why don't you hire a lawyer and call a press conference and maybe put a step to, if you think this is really a mania. Here's Al Franken, one of the most powerful guys in the entire world. He's one of the most 50 powerful guys in this country, the most powerful country in the world, and he's just gonna roll over and if it's not true. So why doesn't he demand an investigation? Because that's what progressives are supposed to do. We're supposed to be for due process, no matter who it is. You don't discount the accuser, you take them seriously, and then you launch an investigation on those accusations. So this is what I don't get. Like, why is Al Franken doing this? If all these people are, even Bruce Bartlett saying this is a bad idea, and he didn't seem to be agreeing with it when in his speech, right? Yeah. He seemed to, you don't point your finger at other people when you're resigning in shame. So it didn't seem like he was accepting it to me. Like he's like, I'm doing this because my colleagues are throwing me under the bus. That's why I have to do this. What do you think?
Well, so last thing on that is that there's 2 different possibilities as to why Franken is doing this specific thing. One is he did it in some of the instances, and he knows that if it goes to an ethics investigation, they're going to find out, oh yeah, here's picture X, here's picture Y, here's witness Z and witness D, etc. Right? And then it's 8 people now, but maybe it's more, and maybe some of those he says he adamantly did not do it with some of them. Okay. All right, it's possible. I believe in due process. I said yesterday on the show, I yelled and screamed, there should be an ethics investigation. If he doesn't think he did it, he shouldn't step down, right? So, but it's possible that he thinks he did do it, and that's why he's stepping down.
Right.
So that's possibility #1. Possibility #2 is he really thinks in his mind, right or wrong, that he didn't do it, but all the Democrats got together and said, no, you gotta go, otherwise we won't win the Alabama seat. And that is preposterous. Absolutely not true in terms of political tactics. He should do the right thing morally either way, right? But he shouldn't do it based on Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer's terrible, terrible political calculations.
So where does the speculation that they're doing this to win the Alabama seat, where does it come from?
I've read in articles about the Democrats are worried that Kellyanne Conway and others are going on TV and saying, but what about Conyers and what about Franken? So it's negating their so-called advantage in the press.
Jesus Christ.
Okay,
all right.
But again, on the other hand, look, it's a complicated, nuanced issue. Nuance is important. There were 6 Democratic senators, women senators, who came out and said no more. So it's entirely possible he did it, and they're deeply aggrieved by that, and they acted out of the moral compunction. So I don't make blanket assumptions about this, it's a complicated issue. The one thing I'll tell you with absolute certainty, no question about it, and I talked about it on the show yesterday, and we have a petition, okay? If Al Franken is resigning because of allegations, Donald Trump should definitely resign. No ands, ifs, or buts. He clearly did worse. There's witnesses to him saying that he did worse. There's witnesses to him doing it.
Videotape of him saying.
That's right. So tytnetwork.com/resign. So At a bare minimum, they should have the same standard. So if everyone agrees Franken should resign, great, then Donald Trump should resign immediately. I don't know why you would have two different standards.
What about all those people who they use that fund to pay them off, for all the congressmen and senators, and they had to pay? So why doesn't Al Franken demand that their names be made public? Like
that slush fund.
Yeah, like how about all of a sudden I'm not treated the way everyone else has been treated? Like again, if there's all these problems and Al Franken seemed to think there were lots of problems with this, why doesn't he stand up, right? So I think what Cenk says is that maybe he did some of it and that's why he's not.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly would want to name names, so.
Such a mealy-mouthed way to resign. You can't point the finger while you're resigning.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a second portion of the Roy Moore story that I really want to get to, so let's do it. Beverly Young Nelson is one of the women who accused Roy Moore of sexual assault when she was a 16-year-old waitress at the Old Hickory House. She is the accuser who had the yearbook signed by Roy Moore and provided it as evidence that Roy Moore did in fact know her and of course signed that yearbook. Well, now there is a twist to that story because apparently Young Nelson had added a date at the very bottom of what Roy Moore had signed. Conservatives caught on to that, and now they're saying the entire thing has been forged, which is absolutely not true. They're just doing what they can to discredit her, and in addition, discredit anyone else who has accused him of any misconduct. Now, Moore's defenders have pointed to the difference between the 7s in Christmas 1977, which Moore wrote, and the 12/22/77, which Nelson wrote. The inscription and the appended text were obviously written by different people, with Moore writing the former. Now, Nelson had simply added a note to the bottom of his inscription, writing the date 12/22/77 and Old Hickory House, the restaurant of where the two had met. Now, of course, conservatives are taking that one small thing and they're turning it into a massive story where they're pretending as if the entire thing was made up, completely fabricated, and again, that is not true. So I'll give you some headlines. First, Breitbart. They had the headline that says the following: bombshell, Roy Moore accuser Beverly Nelson admits she forged yearbook.
She didn't admit that at all.
That is just flat out a lie. That's it, it's a flat out lie. It's insane, okay. There's more. So Fox News also jumped on this story and then later had to retract it because they also lied. Fox News ran an article on their website using the word forged in their headline, although annotations are very different from forgeries, right? So the tweet that they had sent out said, Roy Moore accuser admits she forged part of yearbook inscription attributed to Alabama Senate candidate. Now, in the article, they actually changed the word forged to something a little more accurate. And the story also writes, and this is also untrue, that Moore has denied signing the yearbook and said he did not know Nelson at the time. I'm sorry, this is the inconsistent. Okay, no, let's continue. Moore also went on to become a judge and then the Chief Justice of the Alabama State Supreme Court, later ruled against Nelson in a 1999 divorce case. So that's what the article on Fox News wrote. Moore never presided over Nelson's divorce case. That again was a flat out lie. Fox News had to retract that.
But just like Brian Ross, they have suspended everyone involved in all those mistakes for 4 weeks without pay. Because I know Fox News was very concerned about getting things accurate at that moment. These are very important issues. They're all suspended, right? Oh, they're not suspended. Well, that's so weird. I'm sure Breitbart has suspended the guy who wrote the headline, right? Come on. So look, a couple of the guys that started this are the same alt-right characters who did Pizzagate, who went on to smear almost everybody they oppose. They call almost everyone they oppose pedophiles and child molesters, because what do they want to do? They want to protect child molesters like Roy Moore. So you just muck it up. You just call everyone a child molester until nobody knows what's going on.
That's right.
And the mainstream media calls it even, right?
Yes.
And so here they're like, oh, she wrote an annotation. Hey, don't forget, this is when it was said. Now, if she had decided that she was going to forge the whole thing, why didn't she just write the whole thing in the same handwriting?
Right.
Why is there two different handwritings? Okay, so, or why would you bother to get someone else to write it in Roy Moore's handwriting and then add a second thing in your handwriting, thereby tipping people off? No, it's because Roy Moore wrote the thing, which in the beginning he didn't even deny. Now, and my favorite quote of his now is that He questions whether, quote, everything written in that yearbook was written by Roy Moore. No, of course not everything written in the yearbook was written by Roy Moore. In other words, he doesn't want to deny that he wrote the part that he wrote. He's saying, but I didn't write everything in the yearbook. Nobody's saying you wrote everything in the yearbook.
So stupid. And by the way, I mean, look, most people read headlines, okay? Most people will read a headline and then they will think that they know all the details of the story based on that headline. So do you think people are gonna get into the nuance of what Nelson wrote and what Roy Moore wrote? No, they're gonna read that headline from Breitbart and then they're gonna use it for their justification for voting for Roy Moore. And so my message to those people is, look, based on what the polls currently say, Roy Moore is likely to win. You guys don't care about the molestation. You don't care about the sexual assault. You don't care about the women in your state. You don't care about teenagers who were dealing with sexual misconduct on Roy Moore's hand or at his hand. So just stop twisting and turning things so you can justify voting for him. You don't care. Just be proud of the fact you don't care and go ahead and vote for him.
Just say it.
Just say it.
Say it.
I mean,
Sam Kinison was legendarily saying, say it.
These mental exercises that they're doing to justify and feel better about themselves. No, you're a bad person. Just accept it. You like voting in favor of child molesters because you think that's better than voting in favor of a Democrat. You think a Democrat's worse.
One of the alt-right guys spreading this has admitted in the past online that he doesn't care about rape. Well, and he doesn't believe that date rape even exists. So just own up to it, man. What are you doing all the tricks for? You know why you're doing the tricks? Because you know that people actually don't agree with you. The majority of people are not as vile as you, and you know that. So that's why you try to trick people into being on your side by pretending to have facts you don't have.
I just think the most ironic thing maybe ever is that Fox News retracts that thing about the divorce, but they're standing by their denial of climate change.
Yeah, and just about every other lie they do, right?
Like it's like, oh, we're sorry, we got that wrong, but climate change still isn't a thing.
So the uneven playing field is what drives me crazy. I talk about it all the time. So first of all, when the press treats the right and the left equally, it's just they're not equal. Your job is not to be neutral, it's to be objective.
Yes.
The right wing has a bunch of monsters that lie on purpose and then brag about it. One of the other things that these alt-right guys do is like, oh good, let's make up a thing about how a guy is a sexual predator who's totally innocent, and let's try to get it to be #1 on the Google search. So that anyone who Googles his name will think that he's a child molester because we don't like him politically. You're gonna take that guy's word as legitimate? Are you insane? So you've got to at some point have guts and say, if I'm going to be a real journalist, I have to actually call things as they are and not be afraid that the Republican or alt-right or Breitbart or Fox News is gonna yell at me. There are monsters that go bump in the night, and those are those guys. And it's provable, you've seen their track record, but still, they'll be afraid. Breitbart is nothing but lies. So no, you can't how can you take Breitbart, anything written in Breitbart seriously? And then for Fox News, they're a gateway drug to the alt-right nonsense, okay? And so they take that, and it goes both ways. They take that stuff and they pull it out there, and they do a trick, by the way, that the Pentagon does. We didn't bomb civilians. They'll blare it in the headlines. The first day that there's a bombing, 17 people killed in a wedding. We didn't bomb civilians. Everybody prints in New York Times, everyone. They did not bomb civilians. That's what Pentagon says. 2 weeks later, Pentagon's like, yeah, we might have bombed civilians. That goes in A17 in a correction that no one ever reads.
That's so true.
And so Fox News goes, forgery of Roy, saying that Roy Moore wrote that stuff in the yearbook. It's forgery, and everybody reads it. And then when no one's paying attention, hours or days later, with no consequence to anyone who ever wrote it, they'll say, oh, by the way, it wasn't a forgery, and by the way, he never was involved in that case.
Yeah.
And no one will see that. And they'll have riled up enough people to go vote for Roy Moore. That is the agenda of Fox News. The fact that not only are they part of the so-called legitimate press, but they were running the White House Correspondents' Dinner and group. I don't know if they still are. I know they were until very recently. It's a joke. And then when Obama said, hey, we should challenge Fox News, they're like, how dare you, our beloved Fox News colleagues who I would like to join later for a really high salary. By the way, you go back and look, when Howard Kurtz used to kiss Fox News' ass when he was on CNN, I said on this show, the reason he's doing that is but one day he might work at Fox News. And guess what happened? One day, Howard Kurtz moved over to Fox News and now gets a hefty paycheck to kiss their ass on their air. because they all go in the same circle. They're all part of the same group getting paid.
All right, we got to take a break. Let's do that. And when we come back, an update on Trent Franks and some new allegations against him. You don't want to miss it.
I know what you're thinking.
I love how you do something with your lips when you play the sound clips.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Look at his lips.
I was a woman.
No, you're closing your mouth. Usually I'll be like, and I'm like, is he like lip syncing it?
I don't know. I never noticed it until you said it.
It's a funny habit.
It's not human intelligence!
TYT member.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.
Not been easy for me. I started off in Brooklyn. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million. All my life, I was told no.
He said I had small hands. They're not small, are they? I never heard that one before.
back on the Young Turks, Cenk, Jimmy, and Anna with you. In fact, Eclectic Miscellanea writes in, Cenk, Anna, Jimmy, what more can you ask for?
Aww.
Wow, well, thank you. We appreciate that. Captain Jingle Pants says, my phone literally shocked the shit out of my hand right when Cenk dropped the power panel. The fuck? Like the way that's asked at the end. Lactose the Intolerant writes in, member hats are back. Well, thank you for noticing. That's right. We sold out for a while, but they're back now. Order them now so you can make it by Christmas. We can. I don't want to guarantee anything, but we believe we can get you the stuff. We've gotten much better at delivery. By Christmas, if you order by December 12th, okay? So go nuts on the member hats and whatever else you want to order. I was wearing the Jurassic Prick t-shirt around today. I got a TYT Christmas sweater that I'm going to put on over the weekend and I'm super excited about. All of that is at shoptyt.com. Go nuts now, okay?
Did you see that picture from Monday night where a guy was wearing exactly what you were wearing? Did you see that picture?
Yeah. I took the picture with him. Who wore it better? We had the same House TYT shirt and the same Young Turks Batman hoodie.
Was he also wearing a blazer over the shirt? Probably not.
No, he was wearing the same hoodie I was.
Won't make that mistake.
Still on this.
Still busted your balls out.
Oh, all day long. Okay, so
you never saw Miami Vice, Cenk.
Yeah, that's right. She's too young for that. Okay. Anyway, Woke Poppy says, I don't really like Star Wars, but I'm excited for Rebel Headquarters. Thank you. And Have Your Own Opinion says, love the idea. Can't wait for Monday now. Makes sense that Have Your Own Opinion has an opinion about that. So yes, guys, if you didn't hear at the top of the show, a new show called Rebel Headquarters right after the main show. Main show, of course, 6 to 8 o'clock. And Rebel Headquarters will be at 8:05 Eastern. I'll be hosting it, and from time to time, Anna and Jimmy will be hosting it. And we're going to have progressive candidates, progressive issues. Like right now, there was a sit-in campaign for the DREAM Act. If we had Rebel Headquarters, that would have been a great moment to talk about all that and bring someone who's an organizer of that in. So tell all your progressive friends, 8:05 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Thursday. Okay, so now, one more thing for you guys to know. So we've been covering the DNC Unity Reform Commission hearings. It happened today, and the final votes are happening tomorrow. So first of all, make sure that you're watching live 10 a.m. to noon Eastern, youtube.com/TYTpolitics and facebook.com/TYTpolitics. We're streaming it live. They're gonna have the vote. They're gonna have the vote on super delegates, so this is really, really important stuff. Open primaries, same-day registration, these monumental issues you guys cared about, they're voting tomorrow. So go check out those streams, youtube.com/TYTpolitics. And if you're anywhere near DC, go, it's open to the public. Isn't that awesome? That's great, you could actually watch it yourself. Go to Marriott Wardman Park, Wilson Room 2660, Woodley Road, Northwest Washington, DC. And there you have the rest of the info. Okay, we hope you're there, and we hope you check. And the stuff that they shot today and what happened today, you'll also see that on TYT Politics. Okay, what's next, Anna?
All right. Yesterday, news broke that Arizona Representative Trent Franks would be resigning at the beginning of 2018 due to some allegations that were going to be made against him. And he had stated that it was because of the fact that he had discussed surrogacy with 2 of his staffers, but he didn't really dig into or share any of the details of that. Now, today, things changed a little bit. He has decided that he will resign immediately, and the Associated Press broke news through a tweet that said the following: Associated Press exclusive, former aide says GOP Representative Trent Franks offered her $5 million to carry his child.
Wow.
So just to give you some more background and context into this story, Trent Franks and his wife were having a difficult time conceiving, and so they had a surrogate to carry their twins, but then later they decided they wanted to have more children. His wife had several miscarriages, and apparently they finally found another surrogate to have more of their children. But I guess these conversations were going on among his staffers, and as you can see from what the Associated Press is reporting, one of his staffers was offered $5 million to carry his child.
So, first of all, where the hell is he getting $5 million?
No kidding.
It's crazy.
Right? Man, if you run for Congress, we now know this because of Justice Democrats. We have average, regular Americans, middle-class Americans running for Congress, like it's supposed to be in a democracy. And then you realize, oh, you're not allowed to get paid for a lot of the time that you're running. And so you have to quit your job and not get paid. So you almost have to be a millionaire to run for office in the first place. And then once you run, and if you ever go out, then you're gonna get millions of dollars to be a lobbyist, et cetera. So I guess a lot of these congressmen have $5 million sitting around to offer their staffers for sex. Let's keep it real now, okay? He said that it was because they were having, quote, a discussion of surrogacy with 2 previous female subordinates, making each feel uncomfortable. Yeah. This was not about a discussion of surrogacy. This was not a theoretical, oh yeah, you know, my wife and I were, that's the way Frank's framed it. My wife and I were going through the surrogacy and I happened to be talking about it at the office and I guess some women heard about it and they were uncomfortable, so I'm running for the hills. That is not what a Republican resigns over, okay? And Paul Ryan says that he found the allegations to be serious and requiring action, and that the speaker takes seriously his obligation to ensure a safe workplace in the House. No, Trent Franks did way, way worse than having an innocent conversation about surrogacy. No effing way, that's why he's stepping down. The reality is, at a minimum, he asked these staffers to be his surrogates. I'd love to know how he asked them.
Yeah. I don't think that this story is complete. I think that more information will come out in the coming days. And I think the reason why he said that he was going to resign yesterday was because he wants to get out in front of it, hoping that more details don't get leaked, that no more reports come out. But I think that regardless of what he does, more reports will come out, as we have seen with the Associated Press. By the way, I do want to read you his statement from today. He wrote the following: after discussing options with my family, we came to the conclusion that the best thing for our family now would be for me to tender my previous resignation effective today, December 8th, 2017.
As my old Jamaican girlfriend used to say, whoever wants to stay. Whoever wants to run. Okay, that guy is running, okay?
How can anyone think that it's a good idea to ask their subordinates to carry their children?
I guarantee you that's not all.
Cenk?
Yeah.
If you offered me $5 million, I would carry a wombat to full term.
Okay. Well, good to know, Jimmy, but I can assure you that I will not ask.
If Trent Franks asked me to do that for $5 million, he'd have a kid right now. I'll tell you that.
So you'd find a way, okay. But obviously you cannot do that with people who work for you.
So you think he offered $5 million to someone to have sex with them?
I guess so. And look, we don't know for sure. That's why we're telling you what we do know and what we don't know yet. But now I will add my analysis to this, is that in the history of covering politics, I have never seen a Republican resign for light reasons, right? I mean, they will not step down almost under any circumstance. A guy like Trent Franks, who's deeply right wing, and he offered $5 million for like we'll probably use test tubes or something. There's no way. There's way more to this story.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see what comes out. But I will say one thing. I now understand his obsession with abortion, because oftentimes when we talk about abortion, it's because politicians are looking for brownie points from their evangelical base or conservative voters, and it's usually not genuine. But I feel like now that I know some of this background and what his wife has gone through, I get it.
Yeah, look,
I don't agree with it, but I at least get it.
It doesn't justify anything he's ever said.
Right, I agree.
So he's compared abortion to slavery and the Holocaust, and the list goes on and on. But look, good news. Not only can we replace Trent Franks, we can replace him with the first transgender woman to ever serve in Congress. So we already had a Justice Democrat in that race, Brianna Westbrook. And she's fantastic, she's progressive, she's uncorrupted. Wouldn't it be amazing to have someone who does not have to answer to corporate PACs as your congressman? And to replace Trent Franks, that would be awesome. And now she's got a great chance of being able to do that. So if you want to check out who she is, go to westbrookforcongress.com. That's her website. And if you're in that district, please volunteer to make that happen. And if you're not in that district, or you are and you want to help in other ways, go to justicedemocrats.com/Brianna. Well, yeah. And okay, I just got to say for the live audience, that wasn't Brianna. Okay, but we'll get. Okay, here we go. And there it is, justicedemocrats.com/Brianna. Whenever we talk about these links, the links are always in the description box if you're watching on YouTube, and then the comment section on Facebook. And now there's actually a cool little corner, left corner on the YouTube videos. Left corner, is that the left corner?
No.
No, anyway, that corner, okay, where there's a little eye, and if you click on that, it also brings you to the links. So go help replace Trent Franks with an awesome progressive.
All right, we got to take one more break in this hour, so let's do so. And when we come back, more stories, including a case involving police brutality that will shock you.
And wait. The story of the alt-right women is one of the best stories in a long time. I like, this is not a tease, this is a public service announcement. Don't miss the story about alt-right women. It's awesome. We'll be right back.
That 300 million is a pretty good number, we were doing a press release on it, and I got all worked up. And I said, okay, well, that's the size of the US population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world on the road to 6 billion. Although by the time we hit it, it'll probably be 7, maybe 8 billion.
Not a big deal. A couple of days ago on the TYT network, we passed 1 billion views.
What the hell?
What the hell?
No, that's a big freaking deal.
2 billion views.
What now?
Sorry.
What did we do? 2 billion?
2 billion.
They said it couldn't be done, but it was done.
We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day.
We looked at you like, are you nuts? Young Turks crosses 6 billion views.
They said you couldn't do it, you can't change the media, don't try. Well, here we are, we're changing the media. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
What's J&A?
Ja'Cory and Arthur.
You guys share a mug?
Yeah, you both take our hot cocoa black.
That doesn't make any sense.
Plus, I'm right-handed and Arthur's left-handed, so our lips wouldn't even touch the same area. It's perfect.
No, I'm not left-handed.
What do you mean? I've seen you type with your left hand.
Yeah, and also with my right hand. That's how typing works.
All right, post-game here in Studio B. It's a green screen magic of internet television.
A lot of condom breaking stories.
Any conversation that starts with, marriage is an interesting thing, deserves a little bit of.
When the kid cries, perhaps that's that is an opportunity to do some. It's an opportunity to do some parenting.
Yeah, parenting is you cry, you're gone.
Oh my God. I love that video.
Yeah, Ben, I got a great achoo. You're like, my mouth was open and she sneezed in my eye.
I used to have Donut Tower next to my desk.
Yeah, I'll dress up like a girl.
I sound confident now, Anna.
Yeah.
When we're off the air, I'm gonna be like, how is this gonna work?
When you get literally asked why 21 straight times.
Yeah.
And like at some point you're like, you're fucking with me now, right?
So I dumped the kids off at her mom's and I drove down to La Jolla for a day.
Get out, kids.
They're like, but Daddy, no.
Why? What do you mean why? You asked me to look at you. You did it. You brought it up. You know you're doing it. What do you mean why? I don't know why. I was reading. She's lovely. Here's what's different. Like, it is a different feeling. Everybody says this, but it's 5:11 when we're shooting this. I can't wait to go home. Like that, I can't wait to see her.
What you guys do is allow us to be open and honest, and we don't have to worry about censorship, and we don't have to worry about sponsors telling us what we can and can't say. We're accountable by our audience and our audience only, and I absolutely love that. That's the best part about being a member. We love you guys.
Thing you have in common with your daughter?
I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
He said I had small hands. They're not small, are they? I never heard that one before.
All right, yes, Jimmy dancing. That's what you tuned in for. All right, TYT, Cenk, Jimmy Dore, Anna Kasparian. YouTube Super Chat has a comment from Alan Kaula. You can lie, rape, and cheat with no consequence in America today. I think Trump realized this before he decided to run, way ahead of everyone else. The $64,000 question, how do you now combat this? Well, Alan, that is a great question. If you've got the answer, you're probably going to get more than $64,000. Beth Havens asks, what was the link for the petition for Trump to resign for his sexual harassment history? That's tytnetwork.com/resign. Very simple to remember, okay? And Sufyan D says, I love how Anna Kasparian always says all right when starting a new story, and I do mean always. All right.
What? Oh no. That's what Jake did. It's your fault.
Of course it is.
No, but you used to always do that and it rubbed off. Damn it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't even notice that I do it, but all right.
Everything's gonna be all right. Get it? Get it? Okay.
Oh. Can I tell you a way more embarrassing thing? So I was interviewing Abby Martin. You know who that is? And I always, I get nervous when I'm talking to people who are more accomplished and smarter, and which is most of the time.
Oh, no wonder you're nervous today.
Yes. So, so I referred to her show as it's Empire Files, and I called it Empire Fires at least twice. And people are busting my balls in the comments. And Kyle Kalinske tweets it out. Like he fucking could not shut up about it.
Kyle Kalinske was criticized me on Twitter though. It's a normal thing.
No, he busted my ball. I took it.
And then Young Turks, as you know, the Young Turks Network Twitter automatically retweets, right? So they retweet Kyle Kalinske, and it wasn't even busting my balls. He was just disagreeing with me, like, oh, Cenk's wrong about this, right?
Oh, okay.
Well, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And then TYT's like, Cenk is wrong. That's okay. God bless. Anyway, Jules writes in, Jimmy Dore is so reserved when he's on the main show. LOL.
It's because we have a leash on him. Like, sometimes we get those conspiracy theories, and it's like, oh, it's Anna and Cenk. They got a leash on Jimmy.
No, it's because
I assure you, there's no leash.
There's two other people on the show talking, so I can't just get. It takes me a while to get revved up, So
that's right. By the way, if you think Jimmy's unleashed on the Jimmy Dore Show, great. Go check it out. YouTube.com/The Jimmy Dore Show. And
that's the loosest leash in the world.
Yeah, I know. Man, if there's a leash there, it's invisible.
Yeah.
It's like Wonder Woman's lasso.
Yeah, that's right.
So YouTube.com/The Jimmy Dore Show. And also, every once in a while, of course, Jimmy does his shows. You can find out about that at JimmyDoreComedy.com. If you'd gone there, you'd have known that I was going to be on Monday's show.
That's right.
Okay. All right. What's next, Anna?
Recently, our TYT Investigates team had reported that the Democratic Party, specifically the DCCC, had essentially pressured Democratic candidates in primary elections to sign unity agreements. And now there is a specific candidate who apparently is in line with Bernie Sanders and his policy ideas, who really questioned and felt uncomfortable about these unity demands. Now, TYT Investigates spoke to two individuals who are familiar with this candidate and his feelings about it. They did not speak to the candidate himself, but I do want to give you the findings of their story. So Doug Applegate is the candidate that they reported on. He ran against Darrell Issa in 2016 and lost very narrowly by a 0.6% margin, and was one of the Democratic hopefuls to receive a DCCC memo of understanding, asking them to agree to forswear attacks that might hurt their rivals in the general election and to attend a unity event with their rivals after their primaries. So that's who it is. And apparently Applegate, let's go to graphic 19. Applegate said that he was in line with all the issues and the core values of Bernie Sanders' campaign. He has been endorsed in his 2018 campaign by the National Nurses United group, and also they were a major advocate for Bernie Sanders during his primary campaign. So you could understand why he might feel a little uncomfortable agreeing with this unity demand from establishment Democrats.
So there's three components that Michael Tracy reported on earlier, which I brought to you on the show. And now this is the update that we've got a Democratic candidate that looks like he's not going to sign. Before I get to those components, I just want to be clear about this. TYT Investigates does objective reporting, and they are not connected to the Just Democrats. I'm connected to the Just Democrats. All of our hosts get to have different opinions. My opinion is Just Democrats are awesome, but I did not participate in this at all. If I had, I think I could have just gotten Doug Applegate to talk to them. But anyway, they do this independently, so they apparently talk to 2 staffers, and I don't know who they are. But that's what's great reporting, and there might be more. What I understand is there might be more Democratic candidates who will not sign it. Okay, so now what are the 3 components? One is after the primary, everybody hug it out. I think that's the least offensive, but I still wouldn't sign that because I don't know. Did he do dirty tricks? Did he? The primary hasn't happened yet, right? If we ran a normal campaign and we have policy differences, that's fine. Like as I said on the show the other day, what if it was the 2000 primary between McCain and Bush is saying McCain has an illegitimate black daughter? I'm not going to hug it out with that guy, right? So okay, but that's the least problematic. Second one is the one Anna mentioned, which is promise not to attack your primary opponents. No, I don't promise that because that helps the incumbents.
Yeah.
Because they already have a huge advantage. That also helps people who have super PACs because the super PACs can attack anyone they like. But candidates without PACs, for example, the Justice Democrats who don't take corporate PAC money, don't have super PACs, well then they unilaterally disarm. Oh, what a funny coincidence. The DCCC has found a way to disarm progressives who are not corrupted by corporate PACs.
So I don't understand what the point of primaries are if you're not allowed to run against the incumbent. Like, what is the point of primaries?
Yes, it makes.
I mean, like they say all the time, politics is beanbag.
I'm pretty sure they don't say that.
They say the opposite.
They say the opposite.
Oh,
yes.
Politics ain't beanbag, except they want to make it beanbag.
When it comes to progressives,
right?
Stand down, right? And like let's take Applegate's race. Applegate had the closest race in the whole country, barely lost to Issa, and now Issa is losing by 10 points in that race. Okay, so Applegate is the clear front runner. He's actually raised a ton of money. That's usually the excuse they have. Oh, you didn't raise enough money. No, he used small donors to raise nearly $1 million. Applegate is the clear leader. If the Democrats actually cared about winning, they would support the guy who almost beat him last time, has a 10-point lead, has nearly $1 million. Clear, it's super obvious. But they're not. And so there's 3 other people in the race. One of them is a bundler for the Clinton 2016 campaign. Of course, don't attack him.
Be nice.
Don't attack him.
Be nice, don't bring that up.
Am I allowed to say that he was a Hillary Clinton bundler, or is that some sort of attack?
Michael Levin is his name.
You're being provoking.
Yeah. Another one is Sarah Jacobs. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this if I sign the DCCC letter. She's the granddaughter of Qualcomm founder Irvin Jacobs. So she's financing her own campaign. She's got a lot of money. Democrats love rich people, the Democratic Party, right? They're like, oh, you've got money to finance your campaign? You're awesome. Hey, Doug Applegate, you better not criticize her, right? And then there's another real estate investor in the race. So it's like 3 enormously rich people against Applegate. And they want Applegate to sign a letter. And I haven't talked to him about this at all. So I don't, this is Michael's reporting. We'll get Applegate on the show hopefully one day. We'll ask him directly. But they asked Applegate to sign a letter saying don't attack them, don't say where they're getting their money, who they support. Insanity. No, we don't. I wouldn't agree to that under any circumstances. And I haven't even gotten to what I think is the worst part. The worst part is the candidates must allocate 75% of their funds to quote unquote paid communications. It's largely TV. It doesn't have to be just TV, but you have to spend it in advertising. Why? Why can't I spend all of my money on humans? I want to go knock on every door in the district. I'm going to use 75% of my money on volunteers. No, you're not allowed to do that. Why? Why do you care? You care because actually these DNC, DCCC are run not by the politicians, by the consultants. And they're all going to get 25%, 15 to 25% on all those ads. You must funnel hundreds of millions of dollars from us. Otherwise, we're going to cut you off. And as Michael reports in TYT Investigates in this follow-up story, there could be consequences if they don't sign. Not only could they lose funding from the DCCC, support at the national level, maybe lose access to voter rolls, but then all the allied groups, all the veal pen groups in Washington, D.C., the big so-called progressive groups that have the same exact donors on their boards, then they cut you off. They go, nope, that's it. Okay, these people are illegitimate.
It's almost as if they learned absolutely nothing from the general election. Instead of taking ownership of the flaws that occurred during the 2016 election, they're just finding ways to squash any and all objections or opponents, and it will not bode well. Even if they're able to do away with these opponents and hide their message and basically squash them, people are aware of what's going on, and this is a really, really bad idea strategically.
So, by the way, if you want to support Doug, that's your call. I'm supporting him. I think he's going to win. I think he's going to be a great, great congressman. It's going to be wonderful to get rid of one of the most loathsome guys in Congress, and Darrell Issa, with a real strong progressive. He's a colonel. He's a Marine. JusticeDemocrats.com/Doug. And ApplegateForCongress.com. We'll have those links in the description box below in the comment section on Facebook. But Anna, to your point, we have different priorities. We want progressives to win. The consultant class that runs the Democratic Party doesn't care if they win. They just want the money. So if it turns out Issa wins because they screwed up this race, doesn't matter as long as the 75% of the money goes to them. It doesn't. Next time they'll get 75% of the money to lose again. Who cares? As long as they get the money, right? Whereas if progressives win and they do not agree to funnel 75% of the money to them, that's a giant loss. Who cares who won the race? Progressive policies, they couldn't care less. They don't care at all. So we keep thinking that they're bungling things.
No.
Like, oh my God, they don't know how to win. No, winning for them is completely different than winning for us.
Nancy Pelosi said about a year ago that the people don't want change. She said that on CBS. She said people don't want change. She was the one who picked the chairman of the DCCC, Ben Ray Lujan. Is that how you say his name? Doesn't matter how you say his name. He was handpicked by Nancy Pelosi. And what is his job? His job is to silence progressives. And that's what this is. This is about keep the money train going, as Cenk says, and tell progressives to shut up. And they don't have a plan, actually. This isn't the DCCC's plan to get voters. This is the DCCC's plan to protect corporatists. That's all this is.
And when they asked Nancy Pelosi, why should you stay in charge for the House Democrats? She said, I'm a master legislator.
Yes.
Okay,
really?
Then she literally said that.
Yes.
And then they said, okay, why? And she said, because I raise the most amount of money.
How is that legislative?
That's not legislating at all. There's no almost no legislative wins ever. But she raised the most amount of money and then funnels a lot of it to her consultant friends who get really, really rich. Off the money, by the way, sometimes from rich donors, but sometimes from small donors. That money also gets funneled to those consultants. That's why when we say no more corporate PACs, they lose their minds. They view us as the enemy way more than they view the Republicans as the enemy.
Yes.
Go support JusticeDemocrats.com in any way you can. That's my opinion. But for the actual facts of this story, check out the link to the TYT Investigate story because they did a wonderful job with it.
All right, moving on. Moving on. A jury in Arizona has just acquitted an ex-Arizona cop who was found on camera to shoot and kill an individual who was sobbing for his life and who did not have weapons on him at the time. Now, this story involves the shooting of Daniel Shaver. It happened back in January of 2016, and the story began when Shaver was in a hotel with friends. He worked as an exterminator, and so he had air rifles that he used during his job to shoot certain types of birds. Now, there were witnesses who said that he was seen waving his air rifle outside the window. As a result, they called the cops. And at that point, a Mesa, Arizona cop by the name of Philip Mitchell Brailsford, who was 27 years old at the time, showed up. And what you're about to see is a video of what occurred next. I want to warn you, this is one of the most difficult videos that I have personally seen of police brutality. It's very graphic, it's very difficult to watch, but it shows you how everything went down, and then we'll discuss the jury's decision in this case. Take a look.
Stop right there! Stop! Stop! Get on the ground, both of you! Lay down on the ground! Lay down on the ground!
Apparently we have a failure for you to comprehend simple instructions. I'm going to go over some of them again, okay? Can you both hear and understand me?
Yes.
All right. If you make a mistake, another mistake, there's a very severe possibility you're both going to get shot. Do you understand that?
Yes. I do.
Yes. All right. This is, shut up. I'm not here to be tactful and diplomatic with you. You listen, you obey. For one thing, did I tell you to move, young man? Did I tell you to put both your hands on the top of your head and interlace your fingers? Take your feet and cross your left foot over your right foot. If you move, we're going to consider that a threat, and we are going to deal with it, and you may not survive it. Do you understand me? Yes, sir. Okay, young man, listen to my instructions and do not make a mistake. You are to keep your legs crossed. Do you understand me? Yes, sir. You are to put both of your hands palm down, straight out in front of you. Push yourself up to a kneeling position. I said, keep your legs crossed. Sorry. I didn't say this in conversation. Hands in the air! Hands up in the air! You do that again, we're shooting you. Do you understand? Do not shoot me. Then listen to my instructions. I'm trying to do what you don't talk, listen! Hands straight up in the air. Do not put your hands down for any reason. You think you're going to fall, you better fall in your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me? Yes, sir. Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me! Yes, sir. Don't go!
Jesus
So it's like it's like they were playing Simon Says with the guy. I don't understand why doesn't the cop walk over and put the cuffs on the guy?
Just put the cuffs on him.
Walk over and
put the fucking cuffs on him.
What are you waiting for? Why you got to make him go through a monkey bars? Why are you doing that?
I'm going to give you clear directions. No, you didn't. Put your hands down. Put your hands up. Put your hands down. Put your hands up.
Now crawl.
Now crawl. What are you doing? Go over there and put the fucking cuffs on him. Jesus Christ, they murdered that guy. And he got off. He got off.
So,
in cold blood.
Jesus Christ, man.
According to NBC, jurors who watched the full video showing Daniel Shaver's death agreed to acquit
What's wrong with those people?
Officer Philip Mitchell Brailsford of murder. Brailsford faces as many as 25 years in prison for the second-degree murder charge. I also want to. I'm going to skip ahead to graphic 29 because this just gives you a sense of the mentality among those in the police union. The president of the Mesa Police Union said that he was extremely relieved with the verdict, although not surprised, and added that the union felt charges should never have been filed to begin with.
So you can't trust the cops in this country. This is what happens no matter where it is. The people who are supposed to be protecting us come out and protect the people who are killing us and brutal. It's to the point, that guy was white. And I don't know, Jake, how you feel, but I get pulled over now. I got pulled over and a cop had his gun out and I was afraid for my life. I'm like, oh my God, I'm white, it doesn't matter. They're gonna shoot me. So this happens now, the whole country's paranoid about cops, even white people, and no one's doing a goddamn thing about it.
Well, look, now we all know how it feels to be black in this country. And they felt that for hundreds of years, and now we're all feeling it. So there's a couple of issues here. First of all, do you know what he called the cop who shot him with an AR-15? Why does he have an AR-15?
Why do you?
Okay, in a situation like that. Okay, by the way, Jeff Sessions thinks that they should have more military weapons, the police, and he's going to give them more military weapons like an AR-15. He thinks that our criminal justice system should not be reformed. He's rolling back the reforms that Obama wanted to implement. Okay, you know what he engraved on his AR-15?
The cop?
The cop? You're fucked, okay? That was one of the reasons they later let him go because they're like, this guy's out of control. He goes and engraves "you're fucked" on the AR-15 and he killed this guy. And so, but no, the police union comes out and goes, oh, he shouldn't even been charged. Well, of course we murder people in the hallways. Well, no matter what they do, we kill them. Of course, how dare you charge us? We're above the law, right? And so, and that was, the engraving was not allowed into court, it was inadmissible.
Yeah, why is that inadmissible?
So, look guys, in my opinion, there's two fundamental problems here. One is police training. Nope, don't take, I've said it a billion times, I'm 100% right, you can see it in the video. They teach the cops to be cowards. They say to the cops, do not be selfish, don't care about the community. If you need to murder the community, it's fine as long as you don't take 1% of 1% chance. I mean, walking over and handcuffing that guy, I guess it's 1% of 1% of 1% chance that maybe he's got a nail file or something, or the air rifle. And how is he hiding a rifle in his shorts? A rifle was reported, right? So how's he hiding the rifle in his shorts? It doesn't matter, don't take 1% of 1%. Don't get a hangnail, murder that guy, he's got 2 kids at home. He's got 2 kids at home, and those kids are never gonna see their dad again because we train our cops murder at first sight. So don't ask questions, don't take any chances. You're supposed to protect us. You're supposed to protect us. And instead, you tell them, don't protect, only care about yourself. They teach them these moronic, morally hideous things like, better to be judged by 12 than carried out by 6. If the other guy's carried out by 6, we don't give a shit. He's just a citizen. Let him get carried out by 6. Let all of them get carried out by 6 people. Let them die, as long as I don't have to. And consequences, we get acquitted every time. Every time. And the second problem is the guns. So hot tub, there's a couple in the hot tub, they see a gun. I get why they're concerned. There's mass shootings every day. They report, it's not a gun, it's an air rifle, but they can't see straight. I don't blame them at all. I'd be concerned, right? So they're like, well, maybe it's a mass shooting. But there's a mass shooting every day, so the cops are concerned. They're like, oh, I could get murdered. There's mass shootings every day. Everyone has a gun, everyone. If they reach for this way or that way, they have a gun, because it's kind of true. In America, there's at least 250 million guns. So everywhere is a gun. So the cops are like, I'm not taking any chances. Everybody's got 8 guns. So I'll just kill them and be done with it. So this combination, this literally lethal combination, is what is causing that our cops to not protect us, but to systematically keep on shooting us.
There's definitely this sense of paranoia among cops throughout the country. There's no question about that. But in watching that video, and we didn't show you the full video, we showed you the most relevant parts, but the sense that I got from watching that video was that he enjoyed that power.
Oh God.
And in the defense, during this trial, the argument was made that the reason why he reacted the way he did was because there was a woman in the hallway that he wanted to protect. But if you watch that video, he's threatening to shoot the woman in the hallway as well. And he seems drunk off that power. He seemed like he had already made up his mind before he pulled that trigger.
Even if there was a woman behind him, even if there was 28 people behind him, there was so much time for them to leave the building. Why didn't you just get them to safety? In the old days, look, there's no good old days. In the old days, they used to kill black people all the time too, unfortunately. Cops disproportionately, etc., right? But at least they would say, put your hands up, and then they would go to handcuff you. They would say freeze. You remember in all the TV shows, they used to say freeze, right? So now, any wrong twitch, and that's why, Jimmy, you're right, if you're pulled over, you have a legitimate fear of your life. Now, by the way, since everyone is armed, I'm not armed, but almost the whole country's armed, now you got legitimate fear of cops. Oh, Jesus, this is a recipe for absolute disaster. And look, some of the cops, like that guy looks like he's on a power trip. But it's not just bad apples. Chuck, it's the wrong goddamn training.
Well, what do you do if you're not the cop, but the other guy in that situation? What do you do if that's you? Some cops, you're at a hotel.
There's nothing you could do, because what do? You're trying desperately to listen to his directions. He does everything he's told. Everything he's told.
He was sobbing and begging for that cop to not shoot him. He was begging for his life.
He kept saying, don't shoot me. And then you say, hey, look, I can't follow your directions because they're contradictory. Shut up, shut up.
This isn't a conversation.
I can't say anything. I can't say anything, I can't do anything. The same thing with Philando Castile. Put your hands up, put your hands down. You put them down, boom, you're dead. But you told me to get my ID. This guy, put your hands up, put your hands down. Oh, you put your hands down. We think in that one split second, his shorts were going down, and he was trying to pull his shorts up. Oh, could have been reaching for a waistband. Could have been.
Don't you have to see a gun before you shoot someone?
No, because they tell them. They tell cops throughout this, not every police department, and there's some great cops. We did a story just this week of that hero in Orlando who now they're gonna cut his salary and fire him, by the way. He went in first to the Orlando nightclub shooting and he saved people's lives and they're like, he's my hero, right? He has PTSD, wakes up with nightmares of Omar Mateen, a Muslim radical terrorist shooting people, right? And they're like, nope, I'm not gonna give you desk duty. I'm just gonna fire you right away so you don't complete your 10 years of service so your pension won't be longer. You take the good cops and you crush their souls. I did a story about a Baltimore cop who, after there was police abuse and he saw it and they broke this guy's leg, he said, you shouldn't break guys' legs, right? After we had him in handcuffs. They throw dead rats on his car, they drove him out of Baltimore, okay? So yes, there's a lot of good cops, but overall the training is, remember, we don't care about the citizens at all. That's not our objective. Our objective is to be perfectly safe for us. Be selfish, and if you gotta shoot someone, even when you don't see a gun, doesn't matter. There are never any consequences.
I agree with everything you said. I hate that when we talk about stuff like this, we always have to say there's lots of good cops. Because if there were lots of good cops, they would be screaming as loud as we are for reform of the system because they would know about it. Unfortunately, the system we have right now trains them the way Cenk says. It attracts people who are unhinged, and the people who aren't unhinged when they go in, they either leave or they succumb to the culture. So this idea that there's a bunch of good cops out there is not right. There's a bunch of effed up system, people working inside an effed up system, and they're propping up that system. And that system is racist, that system is overly violent, that system is overly militaristic. That's a system that sees the citizen as the enemy and not a citizen that's supposed to be served. That's so, again, if we have all these great cops, it would be great if just 1/10 of them got together, held a press conference and say, we need to really radically reform how we police in the United States. But you and I both know that's not gonna happen, because if those are the kind of people that would be policing, they would be doing it, and they're not. That's right, the system gets rid of those kind of cops.
All right, we're way over, we gotta go. Sorry guys, it's hard not to get emotional about a video like that, man. God help us all if we are in a situation like that. Jesus, all right, look. Jimmy Dore, the youtube.com/the Jimmy Dore Show. Jimmy, thanks for being on. Brett's gonna come on. We still have that story of the alt-right women complaining about how alt-right men are treating them, which is just amazing. So come right back.
Welcome to the Young Turks on a momentous day. What now? What now? We get animated about the news. Yes, we're not the robots on TV. I actually care about the news. Guilty, I care.
Senator Sanders, I'm going to do something unusual. I'm going to ask you a policy question.
How dare you? That's the problem. You're the problem. Don't ever attack the Republicans. Where the fuck is the liberal media? Where is it? I don't see it. No. These are all establishment guys. They love the system as it is. They're all enormously rich off the system that exists.
For us, this system isn't working.
So what this campaign is about is trying to create an economy that works not only for the people on top, but works for all Americans.
So what's happening in the Democratic Party is what used to happen in the general election. We would have a person who represented workers and the people and the voters, and then the Republicans would represent business and corporations and Wall Street, and we'd have a frickin' election. That's happening all inside the Democratic Party this time.
And instead of focusing on issues that actually matter to millennial voters, for instance, we're focusing on non-issues in the country. The fear-mongering about Muslims and terrorism.
Here comes Bernie in Illinois. Tell your friends, tell your family, this thing's not over. That voice in the wilderness, it created a ripple effect, which then now is a tidal wave as we stand right now. I love this show. We're gonna rock the boat. We're gonna be counter-establishment. We're gonna tell people the truth to the best of our abilities, and we're gonna keep it real with them.
Membership gives us so much journalistic freedom. It's incredible. So, PYTnetwork.com/join.
Hey Dave, as you can probably see, Skype froze.
Yes,
Frozen crashed.
You know, I'm watching that documentary on the Vietnam War, and there was a TV journalist in the middle of some tiny little village in Vietnam doing live TV as the soldiers were burning the Vietnamese huts, and it didn't crash. And that was 1965, and he was in Vietnam.
All right, well, the Young Turks special election day coverage dropping.
An amazing power panel.
Look at this panel. You want to talk about power?
Like a smart Destiny's Child.
We're all too strong.
We spun a revolution. Yes, another one.
Aren't you excited?
Wow. Some of the best writers in the country are right here on this panel, with the obvious exception of John Irola.
Let's not so quickly discount Harry Potter fan fiction.
We have elected the top Twitter troll in the country.
What ran me away from Christianity was judgment and condemnation.
Assaulting peaceful protesters in North Dakota, crazier than bombing Yemen, crazier than bombing Syria so much they ran out of bombs.
Reductive interpretation of what their motives are, what Putin's are, by these amateur experts is just beyond.
We don't kill our journalists, and they do.
Hey, Cenk, what's up?
Aaron, I want to do a YouTube live clip, but not live. Go.
All right, back on the Young Turks, drop it. Brett Ehrlich joins us in a wonderful TYT Christmas sweater. I love it.
Hand knitted.
Shop TYT.
By Cenk.
No, not hand knitted, not remotely. That's a lie. ShopTYT.com. Order now, get it by Christmas. That is relatively true. I think it's true. I think our system's a lot better now. And member hats are back. ShopTYT.com. Okay, two quick tweets. Rita Ann says, gee, it sounds like the DNC will punish any candidate who raises the issue of corruption. Rita Ann, as you saw, it's actually a little bit worse than that. They'll punish you if you bring up the issue of corruption. And they say you must be corrupt. You must spend 75% of your money on paid communication. And gee, I wonder where that's gonna go. Okay, and then last one, Dr. Spineless Dreamer says, there are only very few good apples in all police departments. That guy was dead the moment the evil bastard got the dispatch. He would have been killed even if he just laid flat and never moved. So look, I'm not sure I agree with the first part, but I do unfortunately agree with the second part. That poor guy never had a chance. If he just, of course, if he just laid flat, he'd say, you're not listening to orders. If you sit there and you lay flat and you say, come, please handcuff me, please handcuff me, please. Oh yeah, you think this is a trick, right? No, you gotta listen, you're disrespecting a police officer. The minute you move, you twitch, you're dead. I don't know how that guy could have possibly survived. That cop that shot him, walking the streets today. Anyway, all right, I gotta give member shout outs. Tom Fenton and Kayla Schaefer, thank you guys. You make this show possible. As you can tell, we do it a little differently than everyone else. So if you like us fighting for you, tytnetwork.com/join. Okay, Anna, what's next?
All right. After George Papadopoulos pleaded guilty in the FBI investigation into possible Russian interference in this past election, Donald Donald Trump and his team essentially said, well, Papadopoulos wasn't really an important part of our campaign, just a coffee boy, not a big deal. Of course, in the past, Trump had referred to Papadopoulos as a, quote, great guy. And there was this photo, let's take a look at graphic 38, where Papadopoulos is right there sitting at a table with Donald Trump, and it seems as though he's more than just a coffee boy. Well, now we have interesting comments coming from his fiance. Her name is Simona Mangiante, and she is not a US citizen. She's apparently an Italian citizen, but she wanted to speak up about this whole situation because she has some inside information about what Papadopoulos' relationship with the Trump team really was like. And she's not pleased with the coffee boy comments. So let's get right to it. Let's watch the first video. Here she is speaking to ABC.
Professor Joseph Mifsud, the man described in court records as an overseas professor with substantial connections to Russian government officials, who told Papadopoulos about Russians possessing dirt on Hillary Clinton in the form of thousands of emails.
So you've known Professor Mifsud for some time, for several years.
More than George.
So if it turns out he was working for the Russian government, it doesn't sound like you'd be surprised.
No, absolutely not.
Do you think he sought out George because George was working for the Trump presidential campaign?
I know that he was interested in George because he was working for Trump.
Drums. Okay, so that's part one. Let's take a look at the next video.
George is a remarkable young man with an incredible experience in the professional experience in the field of energy and oil policies. This experience led him to get into the campaign and to advise the president at only 28 years old. He set up meetings with leaders all over the world. He was constantly in touch with the high-level official of the campaign, and he never took any initiative, as far as I know, unauthorized.
Constantly in touch, you say, with members of the campaign. Was he in touch with the chief strategist, Steve Bannon?
Yes, as far as I know, yes. I know Steve Bannon, Michael Flynn.
He was in touch with Michael Flynn, General Flynn?
Yes, as well.
And this is by email, by phone calls?
Being based in London, most of his communication were via email.
So you're saying he had communications with top levels of the campaign?
Yes.
Everything he was doing was with the knowledge of those officials?
As far as I know, absolutely yes. I never took any initiative without the blessing of the campaign.
And you believe that he can demonstrate that?
Absolutely yes.
This is a weird story.
Yes.
Why is the girlfriend of Papadopoulos talking to ABC News? She said at one point that she had seen correspondence between Papadopoulos and Steve Bannon and Michael Flynn. Why? Why is he showing you that? That's super weird. And then the FBI decided that, okay, that like she's not involved. And why does she know that same Russian guy? Every part of this story is super weird.
Look, I think I agree with you. There's something a little shady about what's going on, but I also do know that pillow talk happens. Right? And so that's his fiance. So she has some pretty interesting insight that she wants to share. Now, I don't know how much of it is true, how much of it is accurate, but I do think, look, I am inclined, and again, this is just my opinion, I'm inclined to believe that Papadopoulos had a much larger role within the Trump campaign than just bringing people coffee or being a coffee boy. That, I mean, minimizing his role was, a play by the Trump team to make it seem as though they knew nothing about all this communication with the Russians. I'm not buying that for a second.
She is responding to their having belittled his role in it all. And she, hearing that, turns around and goes, "Are you kidding me? All the things that he did for you, and you're just gonna throw him under the bus and cut him off from all of you guys. He did so many things that you asked him to do." That's at least the intuitive thing from me, is her trying to make him either seem more important than he was, sure, why not? But also, if she, logically to me, if she heard them trying to throw him under the bus, she just wants to reestablish the fact that he did play an integral role, and you wouldn't have had any of those meetings that you all were asking about if it weren't for George doing what George does best.
And by the way, she also talks about how Trump is unlikely to be a fan of what Papadopoulos will expose to the investigators. So I don't know.
It helps him if it helps Papadopoulos if what he is able to give the government
on the rest of the Trump campaign is important, right?
Yeah.
It ends up being important. So she wants to underscore that through line.
So look, I think Trump did it. We've discussed it a million times. So I should be happy that she's coming out and saying that he was a really important player in the Trump campaign. There's something off about it.
Super weird.
Yeah, my radar is going off. So take whatever she's saying with a grain of salt. So, look, a couple of things. Of course, he wasn't a coffee boy. He was, on the other hand, he wasn't in line to become Secretary of State either. So, but we know what he did. I don't know why we need this. We know what he did. Because he's told the FBI already. He told a special counsel already, which is he was supposed to set up meetings with the Russians. That's bad enough. I don't need his girlfriend to tell me that.
But we need a femme fatale in this story. That's what I think it is.
Okay, I want to show you one more video because she talks about Trump specifically, and I think it's interesting. Take a look.
How surprised do you think I and everyone watching at home will be when they learn the whole story?
I think it's very interesting that George will write a book about it and really saying his side of the story, giving more details about what happened.
With the president, from what you know, will the president be happy with the story George tells?
I think he tried to dismiss George as a coffee boy, so I'm sure he will not be happy to read that there are consistent evidences that he was not a coffee boy.
Of course he wasn't a coffee boy. He was in the meetings where he said, hey, do you want me to go talk to the Russians and set up a meeting with Trump and the Russians? Some said, yeah, that'll be awesome. And apparently Sessions said, no, don't do that. Then later forgot that he said that.
It's just such a soap opera. That's what it plays out as. And the Trump administration wants you to feel like he is the guy, and I don't know if in True Lies, Bill Paxton's character, who's like trying to tell someone that he is like this secret agent spy when really he's just a used car salesman. Like that's what the Trump administration wants you to believe, is that this couple is a bunch of tryhards who want to get their names in the papers when really they weren't doing anything. But on the other hand, what if those tryhards were exactly the kind of people that the Trump administration needed in order to accomplish the goals that they set out? Because the whole campaign was a bunch of tryhards, a bunch of misfits who got thrown out there. There have been write-ups in the New York Times about lobbyists who ended up now having a huge role on K Street when really they couldn't even get a phone call before, but it turned out they knew one of the rejects that ended up being in power in the Trump campaign apparatus. That's what it is, and it would be interesting to see as this all plays out what actually the story was, because I think it will be a mix of soap opera and like actual intrigue.
Yeah, and I'd just like to correct one thing that Anna said. You said that Trump had called Papadopoulos a great guy, fake news. He called him an excellent guy.
Oh, excellent guy. I apologize for that. Yes.
Well, if Trump says it, according to his supporters, it must be true.
But like, there's a bunch of when I was thinking about you and the of course moments of like, of course the fiance is going to say my husband was really important, and of course the Trump administration is going to say no, he wasn't.
We'll find out how important he was. Yeah. I mean, again, I respect the fact that Mueller is not disclosing details and like leaking things, or no one who's part of that investigation is leaking things. But there's a lot that we don't know. There's a lot that Mueller knows that we don't know. There's a lot that will be revealed that we're completely unaware of at the moment. I just thought that this was an interesting perspective regarding one of the individuals tied to Trump's campaign who did plead guilty. And this is now the second person who has pleaded guilty.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're taking a break?
Yeah.
All right, I think it's gonna be all right. We got the best story of the day. It's alt-right women and how they feel about maybe getting disrespected by alt-right men. It is awesome. We'll do that when we come back.
Hey, what's up? Aaron, what do you like better? The rabies or the rabies? Go.
Do you trust the establishment media?
The United States economy has never been better. Monetary policy is spectacular.
Everybody thought Jamie Dimon was the king of Wall Street last week. Well, it might be Ken Lewis now. He takes the crown. The best sales force out there is Merrill Lynch, and now it goes to BofA. It's pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing.
Buying opportunity. I do think this is a buying opportunity. We're going to see a stabilization and just a tremendous snapback.
The rally will be jaw-dropping.
The Occupy Wall Street movement is not a spontaneous protest against economic inequality.
This is what we mean by the establishment press.
It is a well-thought-out campaign.
To bring down the infrastructure of this country.
The embarrassment is that I'm given credibility in this world because of the disappointment that the public has in what the news media does.
I'm the former chairman of the Veterans Committee, and I've learned a little bit about the cost of war. What the president is trying to do, and I agree with him, is to do everything that we can without going to war.
So what do you say to your critics? I'm talking about Democratic critics who say, you know what, he's really just a socialist pacifist.
I very rarely read in any coverage of Bernie that he's a socialist.
Bernie Sanders is a socialist, for God's sake.
Most analysts are saying that Hillary Clinton's going to win in a landslide.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president. We've got Trump at 279, 259.
Wait a minute.
I know you don't believe that. Sorry,
We're not going to be polite anymore. You know what we're going to do? We're going to fight back. Fight for a free and independent media. We're done with politeness. We fight back. We are going to put together the best investigative reporting team in the country. TYT will give you the four horsemen, and we will let them gallop. Help unleash real journalism in the country. We don't need anybody else anymore but you guys. TYTnetwork.com/go. This is going to be amazing.
Yeah, Friday, right?
Yeah. All right, back on the Young Turks, Cenk, Anna, and Brett with you guys. I have gotten an emergency note from the folks at shoptyt.com. I'm only partly kidding. I don't know if it's 25% kidding or 75% kidding. They say there is now, again, a run on the hats. We've got a running of the hats. There's only 100 left. Once again, unfortunately, time to panic. Okay, so it's TYT. It's, by the way, Ben took mine, so I'm going to take this one. And it's got member in the back, okay? Buy it if you're a member. I guess you could cheat and buy it even if you're not a member. But anyway, shoptyt.com, get it for Christmas. And yes, once they sell out, you're definitely not going to be able to get them by Christmas. And yes, eventually at some point we'll reorder them.
I don't know about that. Maybe, maybe not.
Okay.
You never know.
All right, let's have fun. Let's do the alt-right woman story.
All right. It turns out that some women who identify as part of the alt-right group are a little concerned with the way that alt-right males have been treating them. It seems as though they would like a little bit of social justice within their ideological group. Now, there are two women specifically who have spoken out about this. Tara McCarthy is one of them, and she essentially addressed these issues on Twitter because she noticed that a lot of alt-right women are being trolled rather aggressively.
Oh no, by the way, I'd like to note for the record, she's an ethno-nationalist.
Right.
So she'd like to be racist, just not sexist. Okay, let's just be clear. Okay, now go ahead. I would like to hear this special snowflake complain about the movement she's in.
So I will read you her series of tweets. By the way, her Twitter account is private at the moment. She wrote, women in the alt-right are constantly harassed by low-status anonymous trolls trying to put us in our place.
No.
That sucks for her.
Alt-right men doing that? I would never.
The ultimate goal seems to be to bully us off the internet.
Alt-right men?
No.
No, there's gambling in this establishment?
Men in the alt-right are going to have to decide whether they will continue to passively / actively endorse this behavior or speak out against it. Now, she must have gotten some backlash for speaking out because she immediately backpedaled a little bit, but also got defensive. She says, guys, I'm not saying I can't take any trolling or harassment on the internet. Obviously I can.
I know she means that because of the asterisks.
Right,
that makes
good
sense.
emphasis there.
That's true.
I've probably had more of it than most of you will see in a lifetime, and I'm still here, not going anywhere. I'm not stating the above solely for my own personal benefit. The problem I'm stating here is not that there are trolls on the internet, but that there are people who proclaim to be on our side that are trying to tear down women in our group. If you can't see why this is dysfunctional, I can't help you.
Yeah, if you can't see that the alt-right is entirely dysfunctional, we can't help you. So she's like, no, don't get me wrong. I mean, we all troll. Trolling is great. But I thought we were just all gonna troll black people and Latinos and Muslims and stuff. Now you guys are getting up in my grill. Why can't I have rights?
It's like the plot of Jurassic Park. It's like you're with dinosaurs. You're with a bunch of dinosaurs. You shouldn't be shocked when they start attacking people.
Yeah.
And they start attacking you.
Yeah.
You're not Chris Pratt.
They have consistently proven to you that they don't think of women as the same class of human beings. They see you as second-class individuals. And so, really, you're surprised? And okay, so there's more from Tara McCarthy. One last tweet. She says, the problem I'm stating here is not that there are trolls on the internet, but that there are people who claim, okay, I already read that, sorry, we had double graphics there. Now let's move on to another woman who is speaking out. Lauren Southern is her name, and she was getting criticized by members of the alt-right because she is in favor of the traditional family dynamic. However, she herself is not married and she does not have kids. And so they've been going after her for not being a baby-making machine, and she addressed those criticisms in a YouTube video. I'll read you an excerpt from it. She said, I'm not trying to sell the idea that myself as a 22-year-old needs to be married right now for the sake of traditionalism and not being a degenerate. What is also just completely shocking to me is the utter lack of understanding of nuance.
Oh, wait. The alt-right has trouble understanding nuance. Color me surprised. I would not have guessed that. Huh. So here's another woman saying, and in her case, she attacks feminists. Why does she do that? Because the problem with feminists is that they're always trying to get the same rights as men. I believe that's exactly what you're trying to do here.
It's pretty interesting.
Okay,
yeah.
So now when you try to get the same rights as the alt-right men, and they don't respect you, and they don't give you those rights or respect, it's almost like you need feminism to help a sister out.
There are literally, okay, pretty big name alt-right male figures who talk about how they don't think rape is a big deal. They don't care about rape. Why are you surprised that they don't care about you, that they don't see you as a human being, that they would rather troll you or harass you? I mean, we're talking about the group of people who go around threatening people with rape, right? We're talking about the same group of people who go around, saying the most disgusting, hideous things about minorities, which you probably enjoy, but more importantly, they say negative, hideous things about women all the time. I don't know, it's just, okay, cry me a fucking river. Like, why are you surprised? I mean, these are women who are young, they're in their 20s, maybe they'll learn. I remember there was a period of time in my life where I was afraid of the word feminism as well. I'm like, oh my God, feminism, no, I don't want to be associated with them, that's terrible. And it's because I bought into this feminazi propaganda that was fueled by deplorable people like Rush Limbaugh. And so, look, I mean, live a little, because you'll see what really goes on.
Well, she's living a little now. Let me give you a quote from her. She says, feminism and, quote, female empowerment has led to a generation of the least happy women in history. So well, you sound really happy now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is, you guys have all said it. That's the thing, is it's so obvious what has happened here that I don't know what more to say. It's obvious that the problem is she just wants the fans. That's what I think. When I go and I watch the group of all the alt-right people and especially I saw the first woman that we're talking about, I've seen videos from her, and it doesn't seem genuine. It just seems like this shameless, sad ploy to get fans and followers because it's an easier thing to say. It's easier to just paint by numbers with alt-right nonsense, and once you painted by those numbers, just watch all the things come in. But then when someone like Miss Southern is living according to how she actually does want to live, and people in her own movement call her out for what is now she's established a hypocrisy. And they call her out for that. So at least, they're being consistent, as they have been consistent with themselves having been trolls from the beginning and continuing to be trolls. They call her out and she's mad about it. What she's revealing is she wants to live according to how her own, code is, and she wants to be treated equally. And guess what? You need to cross the side. You need to cross the Rubicon and come to the people who do want to let you live the way you want to live, how you want to be, and make the choices that you have made when you're not in front of your camera trying to paint by numbers what fans might ultimately respond to.
And by the way, feminism is not like grabbing you by the neck and telling you, no, you can't have a traditional family. We're not gonna allow. No, that's not what feminism is. Feminism is, hey, live your life however the fuck you want. If you don't wanna have kids by 22, awesome. If you do want to have kids by 22, probably not the best idea economically, but whatever. Do you boo?
Yeah.
Do you boo?
Listen to Lindsey Vonn. Like, she was like, I got married too early, but yeah.
Like, feminism is not about telling you what to do with your life. It's about allowing you to live your life the way that you see fit. So if you like the traditional family dynamic, again, do you boo?
So, by the way, you know why they're telling her to have kids by the age of 22. Because those knuckleheads think, oh, she'll have them with me. Oh, I'm going to be an alpha male.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
With those people.
It's
disgusting. Anyway, all right, let's move on to other news. Recently, Olympic skier Lindsey Vonn spoke about the fact that when she goes to the Winter Olympics, she intends to represent the United States, a country that she's proud of, but she does not wish to represent President Donald Trump. Now, that is her political opinion, that is free speech, but Fox News didn't like it. Their feelings were hurt because we must bow down to our leader. So Fox and Friends had this hilarious segment that I wanted to share with you guys. Take a look.
American skier Lindsey Vonn, she would like to win another gold medal at the Winter Olympics in South Korea coming up.
That's right.
But here's the problem. If she wins, she's not going to the White House.
She's already said that.
She said she does not like Donald Trump.
Listen to what she said yesterday.
I hope to represent the people of the United States, not the president. I want to represent our country well. And I don't think there are a lot of people currently in our government that do that.
All right, she's just another celebrity, another Hollywood person who doesn't agree with the president.
The resistance
continues. Do you think he cares?
You know, the last part of her statement was true. There are not a lot of people in government representing us well. Maybe she watched the first 8 minutes of our program and saw that that's true. And not a lot of it has to do with President Trump.
You know what's interesting is you think about it, her ex is Tiger Woods, who played golf with President Trump, what, a week ago?
Maybe that's why they broke up.
Anyway, so Tiger Woods, no problem, apparently, playing golf with the president. But if she wins, she's not going to the White House.
Yeah, think about that. You got athletes preemptively declaring their resistance to a president as they get the honor. Think about the honor of going to the Olympics and representing, wearing the flag. It's like wearing the flag in combat, in battle. Yeah. It's a team.
Proud to.
You're saying, well, no, it's just we're going to write off our president.
Very un-American.
How is she, by the way, preemptively stating her resistance as if Trump hasn't been elected yet? Like, he's been president already. Like, he has a proven track record of what a gigantic douchebag he is. So guess what? Someone gets to resist him or reject him in any way that they like. And I'm very curious to see if Fox and Friends would have a similar segment if Lindsey Vonn said the same thing about Obama. Would they go on there and be like, oh, this is like so unpatriotic, I can't believe she's doing it. It's like, you know, going to the Winter Olympics is like fighting for our country. It's like being the military man. No, I doubt it.
And by the way, one of them thought it was like risking your life in the military, and the other one thought, oh, she's just an empty celebrity.
Yeah.
Well, actually, she's not an empty celebrity. She's a pretty good athlete. So she's going to the Olympics.
I love the, maybe that's why they broke up 2 years ago, is because the president played golf with Tiger Woods last week.
Yeah.
Like that, I just
even
get the
Ducey
time.
was like,
Ducey,
probably not.
Let's
Anyway,
move on.
let's move on. So it's, if you're, look, there's 1,000 reasons why she might not want to see Trump. One of them is that she's a woman, and Trump has allegations about 16, 20 women that he has attacked. So would you want to go in a room with Harvey Weinstein if you're a woman? I wouldn't, right? Would I want to go in a room with Donald Trump? I don't know. You're taking your chances. So that's why I think it's a little different than just a normal political situation. And to be fair, if Obama, having not done anything physical to people or attacking any groups of people, if someone had raised their hands and said, I don't want to meet Obama, I don't think he's my president, right? That'd be a little problematic. And so
no, I disagree. I think that, are we forgetting what this country's about? Like, this country is about being able to freely express yourself. And especially one of the most important things is feeling comfortable enough to speak truth to power. I don't care if it's a Democrat, I don't care if it's a Republican, I don't care if it's Obama, I don't care if it's Trump. It's like the fact that they're making such a big deal about this just shows a fundamental misunderstanding of some of the more important elements of this country.
It's also Lindsey Vonn is telling the president essentially to go F himself. But like, hasn't the president told a bunch of people to go F themselves since he set foot on the public stage? It's actually consistent with at least things that Trump has done in the past, and saying that, yeah, I think it's absolutely hilarious. As is the line when one person says, "Do you think Trump cares?" Ainsley Earhart also said on that thing, "Do you think Trump cares about her?" And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Because you know he's watching, and you care about what Trump thinks about you, which is why you're stroking his ego every single minute of your telecast.
Yes.
When Trump's team unleashes him and allows him to tweet again, this might be what
he's gonna go after her.
Yeah,
No question
yeah, it's
about
going to
it.
be disgusting too.
And I want to be clear. Of course, I don't care if people criticize Obama. At least with Trump, he's attacked certain groups of people that if you're Latino or you're Muslim, I don't think you want to meet Trump. I think that's fair. And or you're a woman, or you're a decent human being. Okay. So by the way, the hats, apparently you do have to be a member. I didn't know that. And your last chance to get them is Christmas, December 25th. So shoptyt.com. Rebel headquarters starts on Monday, so don't miss that. Progressive Hub. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Wish list for Christmas, it would be a tile. You can find